physical limitations. A lot of our students are aging, so physical issues will pop up. Or, like everyone, they're dealing with something in the body, whether it's an old injury, maybe an illness, or something that's recently happened to them. Also, we have pregnant students, so you need to be very careful when you have students who are pregnant. Definitely get a medical clearance. You just want to be on the safe side. Avoid movements like shimmies and heavy staccato or sudden movements. So, in other words, avoid vibrating movements and staccato or rapid weight transfer movements during pregnancy, just to be on the safe side. Every woman knows her own body quite well, but I'd also say to these ladies that when you're pregnant and your body is getting softer and expanding and the ligaments and joints are all getting softer through the pelvis, let's work more with slow weight transfer and deep, grounded, sensual moves. So the main energies you want are the water and the earth energies. They both want to go down. There's a lot of graviception there. That's going to help with their birth as well. So it's definitely not a physical limitation, in the way that they're creating another human being. However, you as a teacher want to be careful, and because they are preparing for birth, you want to support them in that by opting for slow weight transfer, gravity rich, voluminous, and buoyant. They're movements that are going to work with their expanding body, with their growing body, with the liquid, more gravity and weight in the body. So maybe avoid the nimble movements, especially the air and fire movements. Keep them grounded and solid, and just prepare for the groundedness of birth and the softening of the muscles, the wateriness, more fluid in the muscles in the body. Now, if we go into actual physical limitations, let's start from the ground up. Feet. Some people are naturally flat-footed, and when they are, they may find it difficult to do some movements, particularly ball of the foot movements. So if people are finding it difficult to do movements from the ankle, ball of the foot, or they have any kind of pediatric issues, what you might want to do is allow them to step into a flat foot, and just let them know that when you step into a flat foot, your movements are more gravity rich, and sometimes the weight shift may not need to be quite as rapid. So we're working a lot with weight, aren't we, when it comes to physical limitations. So give your student who has any issues in the feet or ankles a modified version of every movement. So routine F from the original. Instead of doing it on the balls of the feet, keep it nice and flat. Routine G, instead of shimmying forward, back and forth with the toes kind of pushing forward and the hip coming up, keep it flat. Okay, so there are always ways of working with any issues in the feet or ankles, and it normally means keep the weight more solid, flatter foot, and if you do come up, make it not such a rapid weight transfer, but more a felt weight transfer from side to side. Coming up through the calves and knee area, there are a lot of people with knee issues, and for knee issues, you just want to make sure that you're not bending too much into movements or locking your knees. So you need to allow that student to get comfortable with their knees feeling soft, feeling yielding and flexible, not too bent, it puts too much strain on the knees, and definitely not too flexed. That puts just as much strain on. I'd also ask them, if they're doing longer sessions, maybe to bring a knee brace or the elasticized kind of knee supports, because that can help them if they're doing a lot of like walking moves and things like that. Again, aim for movements that don't go down too deep. If anyone has issues through the thighs or hips, like hip bursitis or any movement of the hip that hurts, you want to make sure that they're doing more slow weight transfer than these sudden jerky moves, keeping their feet fairly flat instead of doing a lot of ball of the foot moves. And also, you want more slow weight transfer moves. When they're working over the hip, you know how we have torque? We're actually working over the weighted hip, the weighted leg. Just be gentle and inform them that if they put all their weight to one side and then they're working on top of that, it may exacerbate any problems like bursitis. So you might want them to be aware of their weight placement, take their weight back to the other leg, that's not the working leg, and then the free hip. can do these rotational movements. That could help someone with a deep bursitis to just not push too hard by working on the weighted leg or the weighted joint. Lower back issues, I mean, they're so prevalent. With lower back issues, you just want to make sure that you're always in good postural alignment, that the core is switched on, which means the tummy will sort of support, or the core area muscles will support the lower back, and also make sure the thighs are switched on, so thighs are nice and strong. Again, this is very much a somatic experience. Get people into their thighs, into their feet, and switch the core on. Sometimes I say, imagine a saucepan lid in the tummy, and if you pull the handle up, everything comes up and in. That tends to help people to bring the energies in. Mid-back, you just want really good posture and nothing where you're leaning back too far or forward too far. You want to maintain a nice regular posture and again allow for more slow weight shift. Upper back, you want people to have good posture in the neck. Avoid any strong head moves. Avoid all this, very modern sort of sudden hair flicking. That could really exacerbate any existing problems in the cervical spine. And if you have shoulder issues, or anyone with, say, bursitis, frozen shoulder, muscular pain, joint pain, then I would say avoid really long periods of having the arms up. Even like with veil work, it can get quite tiring. And also just monitor them when it comes to raising the arms in warm-ups, doing shoulder rolls. Give them these movements because they will actually help to unfreeze the shoulders, but be very gentle with them. No jerky movements, watery, soft, sensual, rolling moves, nothing jerky. And even with our shoulder shimmy, sort of, let them go slowly into it first, until it feels comfortable. Don't do anything in a way that's jerky and lifting their arm up suddenly. Okay, no sudden moves. Anything to do with the head area, you just want to remain nice and balanced. Imagine there's some cotton or a thread coming out of the head and lift upwards like that. That will align the spine and give a nice lift to the head. If you're working with emotional issues, sometimes you need to kind of go back a little deeper into what might be happening emotionally when you're seeing things in the body. So sometimes like a chest that's concave could represent, let's say, grief in the body. So if you see a lady who's dancing and her chest is very concave, okay, it might be grief. So, you might want to have a chat to her about, how things are going, or help her by opening the chest and just allowing her to do movements that open the heart, because that's working with opening up the heart chakra and opening that center where you can store a lot of grief. In a lot of sexual abuse victims, I've seen a real tightening in the sacral chakra area where the hips really tighten and lock up. Sometimes there are issues like fibroids and uterine sort of problems, like utero problems, so or menstrual problems, PMT, things like that. Again, I'd have a chat to them. It depends how deep you want to go. You're not their therapist, so you don't have to go too deep. But if you are a person who feels they'd like to explore a little more and ask questions, just do it in a way that's really gentle. A lot of women who've experienced kind of abuse, it's funny, even financial issues can kind of settle there and lock the hips up. So it's just a matter of using those, lovely exercises like the pelvic bowl and the fruit and warm light, and just imagining warmth and gentleness through that area to unlock it. Same, you can see when people are tight in the solar plexus, often they do get these gut issues, and it is because they're scared. It's fear. So to unlock fear, again, project outwards, be dynamic and radiant, but you need to do it in a way that doesn't freak them out, right? You don't want to make a person who feels scared even feel more fearful. Just gently bring them out. Okay, so, you can look through the chakras and you can really, I have talked about this before, but you can really identify where there are energy blocks. When we were looking at reading bodies, the art of reading bodies, when you find energy blocks, it often, there's an underlying emotional need there that isn't fulfilled or that they're still processing. So again, you're the teacher, but you decide how deep you want to go. If you're not really wanting to go that deep into, say you have a student who comes who has, you've identified some quite deep emotional issue that they may be dealing with, you might want to have some backup, like have a few numbers that you can give them, um, some therapists or someone who they may be able to go to and talk to. Because the truth is that you may not be in the place where, firstly, you can give advice, probably not, unless you are a therapist yourself. And secondly, it could be very draining emotionally for you. So protect your own energies, give what you can give, but at the same time, protect your energies, have your boundaries in place, and let people know that if they need something more to support them in their dancing that perhaps you can't give, here are some numbers. So just start gathering your resources and even talk to these people. Say, look, I've got a lady who might be interested in doing some therapeutic work with you, or some kind of somatic work with you. Please tell me how much you charge so I can tell her, or where you are, what hours you work, and that could be a really good support. So I hope this has helped you, everyone. We're dealing with human beings here. We're dealing with so many amazing people who want to learn dancing, yet there may be something in their body that's stopping them from doing certain moves. They just can't do them. Or there's a certain learning style that they gel with, but this teacher may not be offering that learning style. She may be doing a different style, so they feel as though they're not assimilating, hence they go home with less confidence than they started with. So there's a lot to navigate when we're looking at how a student learns best and how we as teachers can support them best.